Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Finance Agents Live. This is show number 14, and today's going to be an exciting show. We're going to be talking about the new Bankers Marketing Group that we have launched recently in order to coordinate and get people going out into the banks across the country to get bank denials. I see a lot of people online, excited to see everybody on. If you're watching this, go type in the box like other people. I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces here. Hello, Stan. Hello, Tim from Canada. The other Tim, another Tim. Hello, Peter. Good to see you on here. Marcy, Brett. Hello from Oregon. Good to have everybody on. If you're on, feel free to type it in. But I'm glad that you're on here, and hopefully we provide some real value to you today. All right. So today we are doing sort of the official, formal launch of the Bankers Marketing Group. Kenny, hello. Official formal launch of the Bankers Marketing Group here with Finance Agents. If you don't already know what we're talking about, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on the background of this, but this all started with David Krantz, the partner from our Lendterra, our CRE or commercial real estate or private hard money lending partner. And you can go watch the episode we did 3 weeks ago where he talks about how he used this exact process in order to raise over $500 million in funding for his clients doing private money real estate. See a lot more people joining. Kenny, Phil, Jeff, Nate, awesome. Nate is asking, is the screen supposed to be black? And it definitely isn't. If you're seeing a black screen, then probably something is wrong. Hopefully you don't. So hopefully that's not the case. If somebody else is getting that, yep, they're seeing a picture, so good. All right, okay, so this all started with David Krantz. David Krantz used this process to raise a lot of money, and so we talked about it a few weeks ago. We've had some people that are starting to do this. We launched a promotion for November and December. I really see traction, and so we're probably going to extend that. I see another person saying they see a blank screen. Darren says to hit Control F5. My tech guy is saying hit Control F5. And it should refresh the screen. I got another person. Brett Nelson says it's black. Everybody's seeing a black screen. Okay. Well, that's a new one. Are you looking at the live view, Darren? Well, I don't know what to tell you. I guess I'm going to keep talking and you like radio, but that's strange.
So for all those who are having difficulties bringing up the screen, if you're on a PC, hold down the Control button on the bottom left of your keyboard and press the F5 key along the top of the keyboard. If you're using a Mac, go ahead and hold down Command-Shift-R, and that'll hard refresh your browser.
I think there might be something wrong on our side since every single person is saying it's a black screen and nobody on mobile, still blank after the Control F5. Are you actually broadcasting? Why don't you try double clicking it again? Sorry guys, we're trying here. It says no live showing. Tim from Canada is saying it is not live. Well, you can hear me, so I'm going to keep talking. If somebody actually ever sees a screen, then let us know. And I'm sorry for everybody who is in the blackness. Just try things. Whatever you're trying, just try something. All right, sorry guys, I'm watching your responses if you come in. And all right, okay, I'm just going to keep going because I don't know what's wrong, but Darren is going to work feverishly and he's going to maybe restart the video, or he sees video on his side. I don't know if we should just wait, but anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and get going because I don't know what to do. But so sorry about that. That's what happens when you have live, and that's the world we live in. So anyway, this all started with David Krantz, and today we're going to be going and talking to Don Kelly. Don Kelly is one of our member offices, and he's the first person that we work with who saw the show and immediately started going out to banks. And when I talked to Don, I was like, Don, you're the first one actually doing this after listening to David. So I want to hear the real results. I want to hear exactly what happened from somebody who just started. So David did it for years, and once you've done something for years, you forget some of the obvious things that you didn't know right when you started. And so that's what I have Don on here to do. I'm sorry, I'm slowing down because I don't know why.
Can't find it. There it is.
I don't know why you guys don't see anything. Personally, I'm super frustrated you can't see anything.
This is really weird.
But whatever. It's life. All right, so make sure to stay on to the end. We have a special resource in order to help anybody who's interested in doing this. I'll make sure to be very descriptive in everything we do since you can't see anything. All right, so moving on, we have Don Kelly on the line today. And he's going to be doing, like I said, a true report from somebody who is just starting out and who's out there going to the banks. Live shows on the bottom of the window, but can hear you fine. All right, well, I'm glad you guys can hear me, but that's not enough, Darren. Make sure to keep changing things. Maybe you stop, pause, and restart the broadcast.
I'm going to continue on. Just keep on.
All right. All right, anyway, you can go to the next slide, please. Okay, well, I have a screenshot of Don Kelly's profile. You could get a little sneak peek of what he looks like, but he looks like a sharp guy. That's all I can say. All right, keep moving on, Darren. Let's get to the questions as soon as possible since nobody can see anything. All right, I have a screenshot of his website. Don is the owner of Kelly Capital Group. You can find him at kellycapitalgroup.com. That's Kelley. He is one of our member offices. And he's on the line experiencing this strange start. Don, why don't you say hello here? Are you able to talk?
Yes, Tim, I can hear you just fine, and it's okay with me if the screen doesn't work. I don't have a face for television anyway.
All right, awesome.
Again, I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I'm happy to be here today.
That's right. Thanksgiving. Jeff Schwartz has turned on the lights. We definitely have the lights on, guys. And sure, we can send out the slideshow, but just so you know, everything you guys are going to hear are just what we're saying. It's just pictures of the questions. So, Don, thank you very much for agreeing to come on with us today. We really appreciate it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background? Things before all this started, what were you doing for the last, say, 20 years?
Okay, sure. Well, I started out in the real estate investing world about 1988. I bought a Carlton Sheets home study course, and I read that thing from cover to cover in a couple of days, and I knew just about everything there was to know about buying real estate for no money down. So I took that knowledge that I had, and I went out and I bought my first investment property from the very first guy that I talked to, and I bought it for no money down.
It worked.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yes, it worked. I bought a house and a duplex that day. Now, I can't tell you how long I had to hang on to that property before I could sell it. I paid way too much for that property, but guess what? I bought it for no money down. So
that's good.
Yeah, it took a long time for me to finally sell that house. I eventually got into owner financing of houses, and I found that a much easier way to make money in real estate compared to doing rentals. And at some point, I started lending money to other investors to do fix and flips. And, of course, it didn't take too long till I ran out of money, so I had to find some investors that I could borrow from and then lend their money at a higher interest rate than what I was paying my investors. So I was fairly successful doing that, but I still had more people wanting to borrow money, so I eventually had to go out and find some lenders that I could do brokering for, and I still do a lot of brokering today because, again, I still have the problem of running out of my own money when it comes to lending. When you're buying houses, even if you're buying cheap houses, it doesn't take long before you run out of money.
For sure. Houses chew up a lot of money fast. So, well, good. Okay. So how long have you been doing that for?
Well, I did that first property in 1988, and I've been doing it since then.
Okay. Awesome. Well, good. So you're still doing it. How long ago? How did you find out about finance agents?
You know, I'm not sure, but I think I found finance agents online while I was looking for some hard money lenders. But I'm not real positive about how I found you guys.
All right. How long have you been with us?
I actually started the process of setting up my member office about the middle of August, I believe.
Okay, great. Well, good. We're very happy to have you on board, and I see a lot of good potential in us working together. So why don't you tell everybody why you decided to start doing bank visits? You were, like I said, the first person to go out. I think you went out the next day. So what was it about? Why did you start doing that?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was the next day or not. It may have been, but I saw the webinar that you did with David and thought that what he was saying sounded reasonable to me, so I decided I'd just give it a try. So that's how I ended up getting out there.
Okay, good. So when on the webinar, David said that everybody that went out took two things with them. They took flyers and business cards. Now, we didn't have a flyer ready for you. Did you already have business cards? What did you take with you on your first day?
Yeah, the only thing I took with me was a business card.
Okay, great. So you already had your business cards.
Sure.
Darren, you mind moving on? And what banks did you visit? And you don't have to say specifically, but how did you decide which banks to go to?
Yeah, well, to me it didn't matter what type of bank they were. If they were a bank, they must lend money, and if they lend money, I wanted to talk to them. So I didn't really care whether it was a community bank or a national bank.
Okay, but the first day you went to 12 banks, right?
I believe that's right, yeah.
Okay. So how did you pick? Did you literally just start driving around town and stop at every bank that you see, or did you sit down with a map and map it out? Or
well, actually, what I did was I went to a website called usbanklocations.com. And when you go to that website, you can enter your city and state, and it will pull up a map of your city and will map out every bank in your city.
Well, that's convenient.
So that's
I would have thought there were locations for U.S. Bank, which is a specific bank, but it wasn't.
Lists them all.
It was okay. That's good. So you just kind of picked the first 10 or 12 that they showed, or?
Yeah, I picked 10 or 12. There was in a pretty concentrated area, and just took out to see what they had to say.
Okay, and you said it wasn't important to you if they were a big national bank or a small community bank, but do you remember if they tended to be more one or the other?
It was about an even mix of local banks and national banks.
Any credit unions?
Actually, there were a couple of credit unions.
Okay, all right. So you got a couple credit unions, some local banks, and then some national banks. Awesome.
Right.
Yep. When you walked into the bank, who did you ask for? What did you say when you walked in?
I just simply asked for the person in charge of commercial real estate loans.
Okay, great. And when you did that, what sort of response did you get?
Well, I would say that it was pretty good because I spoke to someone at every bank that I've been to so far, with the exception of a couple of banks that didn't have a loan officer at that particular location. And in those cases, the folks there were nice enough to give me the name, email address, and phone numbers of those guys. So,
okay.
But, I was careful not to tell the gatekeepers what I was there for.
Right.
I just told them that I needed to talk to the person in charge of commercial real estate loans. So, of course, when they told the loan officer somebody was there to talk about commercial loans, the loan officers naturally wanted to speak to me because they thought I was there to get a loan.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. So you just walked in and said, can you tell me who's responsible for your commercial mortgages? And they made a connection, or they gave you the number if nobody was there, and it was easy.
Absolutely. No problems whatsoever with that.
Okay. So out of 12 banks on location, maybe 9 or 10 had somebody on location?
I would say 10.
Okay. Great. So of the 10 that you spoke with, how did they respond? Right? Why don't you kind of just lay out what it was like when they introduced you, you sat down, what did you say? How did the visits tend to go?
Yeah, what we're trying to do here is not really rocket science. We're simply trying to get the banks to pass on to us, the business that they already have decided that they don't want for whatever reason. So the first thing, I did when I got into the lender's office was try to establish a little bit of rapport with them. Maybe ask them about a picture on their desk or something on their bragging wall or whatever. Just trying to build a little bit of rapport with those guys. But and then I just did a little short presentation I told them one of the first things that I told them was that I wanted to be sure that they understand I am not a competitor of the banks. I wanted to be sure they understood that we're a commercial real estate lender and we work with the people that the banks choose not to work with.
Okay, great.
I explained that we're a non-traditional lender and we work specifically with people that have had trouble getting loans through the banks. And I explained to them that we can handle people with, less than perfect credit, even those people that don't show any income on their tax returns. And Mr. Banker, I'm sure you've had people that you've had to turn down in the past. Well, when you turn them down and you tell them that you can't help them, we know, and I know that they're going down the street to your competitor, and that's never a good thing, especially if they're one of your depositors. So if you could tell them where they could go to get help, you're actually doing a couple of things. You're helping them to solve their problem of getting a loan, and you're probably saving their business as depositors, because if they went to another bank and they did get the loan there, they're probably going to have to move their business to the competitor's bank.
Right.
So if you refer them to us, we'll require that they keep their business at your bank. So not only will we require them to keep their accounts with you, but we'll keep you informed every step of the way while we're working on their loan.
Okay.
And I also tell them that I want them to know that when they refer someone to us, we are direct lenders, we're not loan brokers, and we can make fast decisions for their clients. We have an exclusive partnership with a company called Lentera out of Arizona, and they've been in the commercial real estate lending business for over 50 years, and they can close in as little as 15 days. They always were impressed by when I said 15 days, because
yeah, it's
banks
impressive.
can, 30 days is not long enough at the bank, I can promise you.
Okay, Don, in listening to you, it sounds like you really paid attention on the trainings we did, because you nailed it. You basically pulled out every point that David talked about that we should be discussing. So good work.
Believe me, yes, that's exactly where my presentation came from, was from David's presentation.
Okay, good. All right, so what would you say, how long do you feel you spoke with each banker in general?
Oh, if I was there for more than 10 minutes, it was because the banker was wanting to talk about something besides what I was there to talk about.
Okay. And how much did that happen? I mean, out of the 10 people that you spoke with?
Almost always.
Okay.
I didn't feel like they were in a hurry for me to get out of there at all.
Okay. That's great. So, in general, you think you're at each bank for about a half an hour, or?
No, probably not that long, 20 minutes.
Okay, great. Tell us about someone had to have said no to something at some point. Did you ever get any negative? There had to be something, right?
Well, no one actually told me no. The closest anyone came to doing that is at one particular bank. This loan officer told me that he couldn't refer anyone directly to me, that he would have to give his client several people like me that he could choose from. And I asked the guy, well, who else have you referred people to? And he said he didn't have anyone else right now, so
perfect.
I guess in that case he would refer them to us.
Okay, all right. Well, that's something. Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I'm actually expected to hear that more. People have said I can only provide a list of options. And so, all right, perfect.
I think they might be trained to say something like that, but in reality, the guy that told me that, I mean, he didn't have anybody else to refer people to.
Right. I think one of the biggest things you're going to run up against, based on what you're telling me, if other people end up having the same experience, which I'm hoping they do, then probably the biggest thing you're going to run up against is people who just aren't used to referring, and so they don't refer just because they're not used to it. And probably going back on a repeat basis is what's going to fix that. You know, people are going to get used to you coming in, and then they'll get used to referring when they haven't done it before. Did you set?
I would totally agree.
Did you set an expectation that you would be coming back? You know, one of the things David talked about was pick a time, go back to the same bank at the same time every week. Did you?
Right. I know he said to do that, and I certainly plan to do exactly that. However, I didn't tell the banker that I plan to be back in a week.
Okay. All right. Okay, the next question I have, I feel like you already answered this question, but I'm going to ask it again because I want people to think of it this way. And that is, how do you demonstrate your credibility to the bankers? Now, the short answer is all the things you said. You did a lot of credibility enhancers. But besides what you already said, did you do anything that was designed to demonstrate your credibility to the banker?
Well, I think the way I was trying to establish my credibility was I told them my story about lending for fix and flips and how that business had grown. And I also went on to explain to them that we're now trying to establish a footprint in the commercial real estate lending world. And, you know, I told them I emphasized the relationship that we have with David Krantz and Lentera on a national basis, and that Lentera has been in this business for more than 50 years.
Okay. All right. Good. Darren, please keep going, man. How much did you discuss the specific funding programs versus just the general? Did you get into details about CRE? Or?
Well, to be honest, I didn't talk about our other lending programs at all. I guess the way I was thinking about it is I know I need to go back, you know, for the next 3 weeks seeing these guys, and I need something to talk about then. So I thought that I would just save telling them about other programs until at least my second visit.
Okay, great. I don't think it's critical that you talk about the other programs. So, by the way, you know, when I say that, it doesn't mean that you're required to. I think when the bankers come across stuff, they'll end up letting you know. Sometimes talking about 6 different programs can create more confusion than results. So,
right, I definitely didn't want to give them information overload. I wanted them to think of me primarily first when it came to commercial lending, and then later when they know me and they know that I'm a commercial lender, then they can start thinking of me for other programs as well.
Okay, great, awesome. Did you discuss referral commissions in any way with any of the bankers?
I did on the first several that I went to. All of them told me, no, we wouldn't be interested in that.
Okay. That's really what I expected. And in fact, in general, I think it's better for people not to talk about it. And if somebody asks about it and they say, oh, we can set up a program. But in general, I just wouldn't bring it up because I think a lot of bankers will be concerned about a conflict of interest. And if they want it, they'll ask for it. That's my personal
after
opinion.
Those first few telling me they weren't interested in that, I didn't bring it up in the rest of them.
Okay, great. Here's a question. So you go into these different banks. You got to be having some sort of a, you know, I'm assuming you wrote down what banks you went to. Did you keep notes on each banker?
Absolutely.
Okay. How much notes did you end up taking? I mean, what kind of stuff did you end up writing down?
Any things that they may have asked me about, anything specific questions, I just made notes on the notebook after I got out of each call, each visit with these folks.
Okay. All right, so the next couple questions, I would say, what part of this did you feel like it was the most effective? Or maybe what's the single thing you did that seemed to be the most effective when you're visiting?
I think the thing where I could almost see them relax in their chair is when I told them, the first thing I want you to understand is I am not a competitor of the banks. We only work with the people that you guys choose not to work with. I really felt like that put us off to, you know, made them comfortable in talking to me about what I wanted to talk about.
Okay, great. Perfect. That makes sense. What do you think you might do differently after the first set of visits? I guess one of the things is you're not going to talk about referral commissions. Is there anything else that you would think you would change? Like self-critique.
I'm not certain that I would do anything differently at this point, except maybe I would try to connect with the loan officers of these banks on LinkedIn before going to visit them, if I can figure out how to do that. I haven't worked on that yet, so that is, I do think it would give me a little better connection if I could get connected with them on LinkedIn.
Okay. Interesting to do it before you meet with him, because you want them to have some, on one side, they would have some familiarity of you, but at the other side, they might have the ability to create their own opinion before actually talking to you. So I could see that going either way. It might be interesting to try.
I can tell you that I did look all of these guys up on LinkedIn after I talked with them. The next day, I sent every one of them an email. The following day, I sent them a request to connect on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And everybody except one person has connected.
Great. Excellent. Well, good.
He's an old guy. He's an old guy like me, so I figure he probably doesn't do any type of social networking.
Right. Okay. Well, so I guess when the rubber meets the road question here is, have you gotten any referrals yet? Now, you only did, this was 1 day of visits.
Yeah, I've only done 1 day and one more call.
1 day.
So the answer is I did 1 day of visiting banks. I saw those 12 people.
Okay.
12 banks, and I went out to see one guy in particular that I had talked to on the telephone one morning, and I asked him if he would have time for me to drop by for just a couple of minutes that afternoon. So I had an appointment with him.
Okay, great. Well, just so everybody knows, I think it's too soon. It was really too soon to expect to see referrals, but I figured I might as well ask.
I have not expected to see referrals yet. I think it might take a couple of visits before that begins to happen.
I think, and I'm saying I think, not having done it myself, but probably with bankers, it's going to be maybe 3 or 4 visits per referral, as opposed to a visit would create 3 or 4 referrals. But why it still makes sense is those referrals are going to be so lucrative, and often they're going to be so easy to convert that it's definitely worth the investment in time. So that is great. So anything else you want to add, just that I haven't asked about, that you think would be good for people to know?
I can't think of anything right this minute, but as we go along here, maybe something will pop up.
Okay, well, that's most of what I wanted to talk about. I have one last thing, a resource that I want everybody to make sure that they know about before they get off the call. But again, if you're the first time here, if this is your first time and you're still here in the blackness with us, then I give you credit for sticking out in a strange circumstance. Normally we have video, so I don't know what happened, and it's kind of weird to ask you to subscribe, but if it's your first time here, subscribe, right? Your subscription helps us do more of these videos. Hopefully next time you can actually see us, and that way we can keep bringing this content, and hopefully it's beneficial. The resource that we have, if you're not already in there, is go join. We created a Facebook group specifically for bankers marketing. It's at facebook.com/groups/bankers marketing. And I'll pretty much approve anybody, but you have to request to be added because we want the posts and everything to be private for the people that are in the group. Go to the group, join, and in there, please post your experiences, go to banks, talk about it at the end of the day. I want everybody to be able to see what's happening with everybody else. You're not each other's competitors, you're each other's support group as we grow this together and have a lot of success. If you're not already an agent with Finance Agents, then go to financeagents.com/agents and sign up. But go to the group, join the group, and do this with us. And hopefully we can all help a lot of people get funding that the banks are turning down. We know that the banks turn down at least 9 out of 10 people. Literally 9 out of 10 people cannot get approved with the banks depending on what sort of program you're qualifying for. So there's a lot of money to be made, a lot of people to be helped that are getting turned down at the banks. I want to wrap this up by just giving a one last big warm thank you to Don Kelly for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time and being the pioneer in us. Anybody else who's on here who does this, I'd be happy to interview you after your first couple days. So definitely stay in touch and let us know how it's going so we can get you on the show and we can pass on the things that you learn to other people as well. All right, with that, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks, everybody, for coming on to our special black episode, the dark episode of Finance Agents Live number 14. Every show is something a little bit different. Look forward to doing a lot more deals together. Talk to you soon.